Oh.
Hey.
Oh, why, hello. And welcome to Only Stupid Answers. You're either listening to this on our Patreon or you're checking this out on the YouTube channel. Thank you for subscribing to both. You better have.
You better, or
right?
else you're missing one. You're missing one.
You're missing out. Like how maybe some of you are missing out on our MCU Rewatch streams or our live tweets because we've been watching every single MCU movie to date.
Yes.
And we just wrapped up, if you will, all of MCU Phase 2.
By the time you're listening to this, we've probably already started Phase 3 with Captain America Civil War. But this is us,
so good.
Yeah, this is us looking back at Phase 2. And we're going to be moving into Phase 3. What we do is either Saturday or Sunday, we live tweet the latest Marvel movie. And, we're watching one a week leading up to Infinity War. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to have to double up 1 week because they moved the date forward.
I was rude of them.
Yeah.
They should have
consulted us first.
I would have appreciated it. But yes, we did a video doing a wrap-up review of every single Phase 1 movie, which you can check out on the YouTube channel. Or there's an audio version of it on the Patreon. And guys, we're treating you. All right? Trying to be good dates here.
Yeah, and if you're watching this on the YouTube, I'm DJ Wooldridge. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash every place that matters.
At Sam Basher, everywhere that matters. But today, let's talk about Phase 2, all the goodies. Let's run down the list really quick of all the movies that includes.
Hold on.
After... Oh, you can pull it up? Oh,
yeah.
There you go. After Avengers, we got Iron Man 3.
Thor 2.
Which is Thor The Dark World.
That's right.
Guardians of the
Nope. Captain America Winter Soldier.
There you go, of course. Then Guardians of the Galaxy.
Then Avengers Age of Ultron.
And then, weird button at the end, Ant-Man.
When was it decided that Ant-Man... When was that? I always thought Ant-Man was the beginning of Phase 3.
Nope.
I thought every time an Avengers movie happened, dunzo.
Yeah, I think that was the plan, and then Ant-Man had some production troubles.
What are you talking about?
Whoa.
We'll talk about that.
We'll get to that.
Do you want to just go ahead and dive in? Because we got a lot of movies to talk about.
Yes, and here's your spoiler warning, because these have been out for a very long time.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So we're going to... Not 10 years at this point. That was the beginning of the MCU, but within 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Iron Man 3. You got a cool graphic? Of course you do. Video people are being treated. Oh, that's so cool. All right. So this is the first Iron Man movie and only directed by Mr. Shane Black, who's worked with Robert Downey Jr. before for Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Which is a great movie. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. And here's quickie synopsis. Why not? For Iron Man 3, just in case people forgot. Ooh, that's a long one. We'll do it anyways. Plagued with worry and insomnia since saving New York from destruction, Tony Stark now is more dependent on the suits that give him his Iron Man persona. So much so that every aspect of his life is affected, including his relationship with Pepper. After a malevolent enemy known as the Mandarin reduces his personal world to rubble, Tony must rely solely on instinct and ingenuity to avenge his losses and protect the people he loves.
Avenge. Catch that?
Get it? So we're following the events of Avengers, and we have Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr., did a great job in this movie. His performance, of course, because he's amazing. He's a top dog. And he's dealing with some PTSD, some trauma after the events of Avengers Infinity War, which is fair when you're a civilian and then you haven't gone through anything even remotely close to a war and you're thrown right into it.
Yeah, and then you throw a nuke into space and you see aliens and destruction and all that.
And you kind of die. Like, he kind of maybe passed out or died or something for like a second.
So, when I first saw this movie, this is actually my only second time seeing this. I did not enjoy it very much. Because again, we're talking about spoilers. Most specifically because of the Mandarin reveal. I was not a huge fan of that. Rewatching it, I can appreciate the things this movie does well, because the things it does well, it does really well. Like, I feel very confident saying this is the best action in any of the Iron Man movies.
Wow. No, definitely. It's the most ambitious and they nail it.
Yeah.
Also, it's continue with your thought. You felt like you had more.
No, that was basically
the
moment where the helicopters are attacking Tony's home.
Wow, yeah.
Which, by the way, having the home blown up, watching these movies week to week, it meant more to me having the mansion blown up, because it felt like I'm watching a series, and I'd gotten used to that home.
That's the headquarters.
Yeah, I didn't have 3 years to forget. Like, I don't really care about that. But when he puts that whole sequence, when he puts the armor on Pepper, and then helps her escape, then he puts it on and he shoots it's still new.
There's no weapons.
No weapons.
Or the weapon systems aren't functional. Yeah.
So he fires the piano and helicopter. By the way, this Iron Man gives the least fucks about killing people in this movie. He's just straight up.
Like, I murdered millions of aliens, alright? You mean nothing to me anymore.
So, like, he launches the piano into the helicopter. The whole building collapses, and then
he throws a missile, which is pretty great too. Yeah.
And then when he's buried by the building, Jarvis activates the hand. It flies off, and then literally gives him a hand. All the armor stuff in this movie, having Tony lug it around, it gives it more of a instead of it being like a suit, like Spider-Man's costume or Captain America's costume. Mm-hmm. It feels more like a guy in his car, like almost like watching classic Knight Rider, where in that the car talks.
Remember when he pushed the suit around?
Yeah, but it's got a cool. It feels distinct from Tony. You know what I mean?
Mm. I totally agree. It's definitely one of the most creative movies for Iron Man, with a lot of the stuff they do with the armor. I mean, Avengers has that really cool scene where he's walking and it's taking the suit off, and where it catches him midair. I still think my favorite armor up is the suitcase. I think that's still my favorite.
It's so cool.
And I get what you mean when we talk about like later movies like Avengers Age of Ultron and even like Civil War. And Jesus, he's been a lot in Phase 3. But you don't get a lot of that anymore, which is a bit of a bummer, but it's still cool no matter what. For me, I enjoyed this a lot in the theaters, and I couldn't understand people's frustrations with it. Because it was like, yes, you get less Iron Man, air quotes there for the audio people. But you also don't, because you show that Tony Stark is more than that. He is more capable. Iron Man wasn't created and Tony Stark existed and became him. It was like he invented the persona of Iron Man. He created that armor, and he is the most capable out of the two of those things. Like Iron Man isn't an independent thing. It only exists because of him.
Exactly. And one of the coolest bits. One, the kid is hilarious. It's the same kid from. Do you have the IMDb up?
I will pull it up. But I used to know his name was in like the back of my brain.
He's in Jurassic World and stuff like that. I might have it here.
No,
Ty Simpkins, who plays Harley Keener. Hilarious. Their dynamic is great. Like when he's like, "Oh, my dad went for cigarettes or whatever. He never came back." It's like, "Hey, all of us have had dads leave. It's not a big deal. Stop being a pussy about it." Like it's just a really good dynamic. But you're right. When the kid
his
tells
best joke is like, "I'm cold." He's like, "You know how I know that?
Yeah.
Because we're connected." He drives away.
But when the kid tells him to like build something, and so he makes like a Home Depot version of the gloves and everything. Yeah, and when he breaks in, you're right. It is a very good showcase for Tony Stark as a character, which also makes sense beyond the PTSD from Avengers, from the digs Cap got in on Avengers. Like, hey, what are you without the suit? Well, now we see, and it's still pretty awesome.
Yeah, he needs to have some gear, but he's like the most awesome version of MacGyver because he gets to make superhero stuff instead of just like gear.
Yeah.
Like he makes things that are totally unbelievable, and that also leads to some really cool scenes where he only is using pieces of the armor to fly around with, like when he has one boot and one of the hands and he uses it to take down all those guards. So cool. Also, fun fact, in that scene when that guard's like, you know what, screw it, I don't care.
Love that scene.
He is Tony Stark's he is Robert Downey Jr.'s stunt double in basically everything he had done up to that point in a lot of those movies. So, and he had been taking acting lessons, so he finally got down like the comedic timing that kind of matched Robert Downey Jr. That's why he got to say that line. He was like, "Yes, that's awesome." Also, fun thing, that one random henchman that was like, "What time is it here? What's the time zone? Or how many miles is it from Tennessee?"
Yeah.
And he just knew off the top of his head. That guy was the sub-in for Ivan Vanko in Iron Man 2. Remember they bring in that random guy that died for him in prison? Same actor. So it was like, so I'm glad he got enough roles.
I like a lot of that humor. It's Shane Black, so a lot of the humor is really sharp.
Oh, yeah.
But I do like that one henchman because I would be that henchman. Like, listen, I don't like these people. They're so weird.
Yeah. They're dragons. They're glowworm dragons.
Okay. Here's my problem with the movie. Mm-hmm. A lot of the movie is so grounded. They compared a lot to, like, John Grisham and stuff like that. Like classic spy espionage stuff, more grounded stuff.
End credits and the score in this one definitely reflects that too, which is really cool.
And when you're dealing with Tony, for the most part, you feel that. The problem is the villains, the glowworm villains, are so goofy. It just looks weird. I think they were kind of going for a T-1000 metal person thing, but whereas that was like threatening and scary, this just looks silly. And the fact that they said they thought that was okay, but like, no, Mandarin's too weird. We can have these glowing metal people, but Mandarin's too weird. We gotta subvert that somehow. It just feels disingenuous. It doesn't mesh with like the stuff that works with the movie.
I don't totally agree because I enjoy the different aspects of it, and also there's this cool like parallel between like him feeling vulnerable because of like the PTSDs like suffered, and because of the arc reactor in his chest. By the way, that's super shoehorned at the end. We'll get to that in a second.
And by the way, the thing that I've been traumatized with for years, fixed.
Yeah, fixed. Yeah, I'm fine. All my mental things, all my...
They should have had that just be a post-credit scene, like, oh, by the way, this is fixed, and then back to the credits.
It would have meant exactly the same, if not more. I like it because it's kind of it's an interesting distorted mirror. Also, it shows that there's genuine... Mainly from Aldrich's character, that Tony's actually changed and grown. Like, he is a better person overall. Like, he's trying, and it's what's really cool is rewatching these so close together. You're seeing a very clear arc for him over and over. Even in Age of Ultron, it's like his mindset fully now is to help people. Like, and regardless of how he goes about it, I mean, that's where you get the different movies. It's just like him. Like, I tried to make a shield around the world. That didn't work. It was Ultron.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. And even in Civil War, it's just like, okay, we'll have people take care of us, you know?
It's interesting. We're getting off ourselves. But with Ultron and Civil War, it's interesting because now, as I've gone on, it's like, why do these movies keep wanting to punish Tony for being right? Yeah. Because he's kind of right. You know what I mean?
He's kind of right. It's just how he goes about it is wrong, and maybe sometimes selfish or wrong, or he has his ego that gets in the way. I had a point starting out there. Oh, he was talking about glowworms. Or then he was talking about Aldrich. I am fine with it because it's a good way of showing that he's still capable without the armor, even though that helps him take him down. He himself can outsmart what this problem is and work his way out of it. I get some of your problems because also it's like it's supposed to be more grounded, but then they vomit up fire and you're like,
the one time Aldrich breathes fire, which by the way, Don Cheadle's reaction to that is priceless.
And Don Cheadle's he's
so good.
I wish he was used more.
I want him to get his own. At this point, watching these movies back to back, I want him to get his own movie.
He deserves it. It's Don Cheadle. Come on.
Yeah,
come on. Yeah, he's been through shit. Come on.
Yeah, but here's the element I do like about it. In the final confrontation, the final fight, which is amazing, especially with Tony jumping from armor to armor, when he kicks Aldrich, and then Aldrich goes to chop his hand down, and the armor opens up, and Tony pulls his foot out before it goes down. Great. And it's so cool because so much of these movies are the good guy versus the guy with the same whatever suit, power, whatever.
You need something
This is
new.
different.
Yeah,
and that I like. It just seems. Also, action sequences. The plane save is hands down amazing. Might be one of the best action sequences in any of these movies. It's just so cool, and a lot of it's practical, which is great.
And I do like the jokes with the Mark 42. It falls apart a lot, but I for the most part, it's like, that's a cool way of making a suit. It's that it builds itself and can come from anywhere. Yeah. Like, if you're in the middle of a business meeting and you need that, you just do the move and I like that.
And honestly, I kind of wish we stuck there as opposed to where it is now, where it just kind of materializes. It just makes it less tangible, and I don't like that as much. It seems more fakey. Whereas through the Iron Man movies, it feels like a thing that he's like the suitcase one. It's like, it's a thing.
It feels like a natural progression, though. Anyways, but
talking about the Mandarin thing, because that was a big. That was a thing when this movie first came out. Watching it again, Ben Kingsley, fantastic in both roles. Knowing the twist, the first terrorist video was doing this, is hilarious because it's so over the top. When it's revealed that he is Trevor Slattery, hilarious. Ben Kingsley is hilarious. I like the idea of the subversion. However, I think I still have a problem with it, and I think it is like, hey, here's a new, interesting bad guy. JK, it's another businessman in a suit that's the villain all the time. It feels like...
In real life, they're usually the villain.
It's true, but I wish if you're going to do that switch, the trade up needs to be even cooler. Like, it needs to be, I wish... Like, in the comics, Mandarin gets his rings from alien technology. We literally just had aliens crash land in New York. What if a guy that Tony slighted, Aldrich, or whatever, what if a guy that Tony slighted, trying to build up, used that alien technology to make something newer and scarier? Vulture. And was... Yeah, I guess, but it actually works for the Mandarin, and I think and even then you could even had and this is another thing that kind of confuses me, is they wanted to move away from racial stereotypes, because the original Mandarin depiction it's Fu Manchu, which is not the most progressive.
What?
Yeah.
Yes,
but it seems to me, it's weird to me that the fix to that is cast a white person.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that doesn't help. Like, I think...
Why did he have to say at the end that he was the Mandarin then?
Because they needed he has the dragon tattoos. Like, for me, if I did a slight what if, I think all the stuff in Tennessee, by the way, this movie already had a deal with China and a weird China integration, all that stuff. Set all the Tennessee shit in China, Have Rebecca Hall, who's a fantastic actress, but basically gets nothing to do in this movie. Recast the kid, recast Rebecca Hall, recast Aldrich as all Chinese actors, so that way it's not like Chinese people are evil. They're people, and by the way, in the comics, Mandarin's half British, so he could still be Aldrich Killian. You know what I mean, from his dad's side, and have that once we reveal that Trevor Slattery is not the Mandarin, you cut to a scene where Aldrich reveals himself, but he's got the rings, and you're like, oh, this is way scarier. I was thinking of what is it from Jurassic World? BD Wong? Is that BD Wong? Mm-hmm. Have him be Mandarin. Be so cool.
BD Wong's awesome.
Yeah, he'd be terrible, especially if and again, I get that the rings are tough. Which, by the way, if the Mandarin's fake, at least have fake TV Mandarin say his rings are a thing.
Oh, but he's got the rings.
He's got them, but they should they should do something, and then we realize that's all movie magic or fakery.
I mean, terrorists are still scary.
Yeah. Anyway, point is, if you're gonna do the reveal, I feel to me it feels like Aldrich is a step down than what we did set up, and if you're gonna do the reveal, it should be like, oh shit, this is actually way scarier.
For me, as a rebuttal, Mandarin means literally nothing to me. I was excited.
He's Iron Man's biggest villain.
That doesn't mean, but I've never read a story from him, and most of the time, whenever I read that, I'm like, oh, the Mandarin sounds like a racial stereotype. So I'm just like, I had no excitement to see him in anything. I thought that was interesting that he might be in it, but the way they subverted it and they created a villain that, while the Mandarin would have had rings that were different from fighting armor versus armor, you still got something that was slightly interesting, and there were some connections back to Mandarin, maybe something dragon related. With the fire breathing and everything like that. Yeah. It's not perfect.
And I might still get my Mandarin because there's that whole...
Yeah, all hail the king.
Yeah, it's like, there's a real Mandarin, which, sure, I'll take it.
Yeah. See, look, your hat. See? But overall, I really enjoyed it the second time even more. Actually, the Iron Man franchise has been pretty solid all the way through. Yeah. So is most of them, not Thor. We'll get to that. I did want to bring up... Oh, the original villain wasn't supposed to be even the Mandarin. I feel like that was
Rebecca Hall's character, actually.
Maya Hansen. And at the time, Ike Perlmutter was the one who was in charge of Marvel movie entertainment, and he said that girls wouldn't sell action figures, but then they never sold any Aldrich Killian.
Yeah, that's dumb. Figures, that's really dumb. I am glad they.
She plays literally no role in this movie.
I'm glad they tried for the Mandarin, because it's like, if you're going to do an Iron Man trilogy, you need to get to he just is. He's really Iron Man's only really iconic villain. From the comics, and so not doing him, nobody knew or cared about Ironmonger or Whiplash, and Whiplash was a composite of him and Crimson Dynamo anyway. Mandarin is the guy, and so at least try. I don't think you nailed it. And again, maybe I would have been more down with the thing if the villain's gimmick was more grounded, but he's breathing fire. You can't tell me the 10 Rings would have been sillier than that. Come on, man.
But whatever we got, you can.
It's still good. I still enjoyed it. I much more enjoyed it the second time around.
Yeah, it's maybe not fair to review it of they could have done this, but based on what you got, it's an enjoyable film. Yeah. And I still don't understand, even people who didn't know the Mandarin, they still don't like it very much, which is weird. It got more negative reviews, even though it's the highest grossing of the Iron Man films. Almost a lot of Marvel films too. It made $1 billion. It made a crazy amount of money.
By the way, my favorite after credits teaser, I think.
Which one's this one?
With Bruce Banner.
It's a really
good one. For one thing, because when everybody's doing voiceover narration, I'm always like, who the fuck are they talking to? Mm-hmm. They don't know I'm here.
Yeah.
And then he's been talking to Bruce the whole time, which was a good payoff to their dynamic in Avengers. It was a nice little...
This movie definitely has a lot of rewatchability, and you learn a lot more the more you watch it. So
it makes me bummed that this was the last... It's kind of like Thor Ragnarok, where it was I want
just
more
going.
of this.
Yeah,
I want more of this.
There was supposed to be an Iron Man 4, but then you got Civil War instead, and I'm okay with that.
Dude, he's been done a movie as Iron Man every year since Civil War.
Since Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah, so it's Age of Ultron, Civil War, Spider-Man: Homecoming, and now because Lord, there's so many of these movies. What do you rate this one? Yeah,
sorry, I was just counting in my head.
Yeah.
Wow, that's he likes it, I guess. Maybe just
he likes
a little
the money.
bit. Oh, definitely.
He's so good. He really I'm gonna. By the time this is up, I've already live tweeted Civil War, but there's a reason the whole universe was built on Robert Downey Jr.'s back. He's just so good.
There's a scene in Civil War, not getting ahead of myself, we'll give this a rating in a second, but there's a scene where it's right before the big fight, he's so goddamn dumb. Or not dumb, done with the situation. He's just we're so close to being able to do what we do and help everybody, and everyone wins.
Yeah.
But you're not seeing this.
And it's tough because his quippy banner, like, Marvel has tried to make that their thing. The problem is nobody does it better than him, because not only is he quippy and funny, but there's real humanity in it. Mm-hmm. Like you have a real sense of who Tony Stark is as a human being, thanks to Robert Downey Jr. Mm-hmm. And so it makes all the sense in the world that now in hindsight that Iron Man blew up, that this whole thing clicked because of that personality and that dynamic.
It's awesome.
He's so good.
So to rate it, I think I'll do an even 10 right now.
Yeah, I think for these we do 10.
It actually has my favorite credit scene. Is this? Yeah. It's a cool. You get to see, like, they take footage from all 3 movies, and I think maybe a little Avengers too. But it's just like, this is so cool. I'm so bummed. There's the Mark 41 armor, because I did a whole breakdown on this and tried to name all the armors.
I'm sorry.
You can't because they don't give you a full like database of them. But the one before it is like this black armor with like this gold trim that goes all the way around it. I'm like, that would have been cool. Really. It gets annihilated really fast.
The actual Mark 47 in the comics, I think, is
Mark
stealth.
42.
Mark 42 is stealth armor, which was cool. This is the fun stuff. I don't buy any of these things because I don't have the money for it. But the collectibles market, so they had a model of the Mark 42 from the movie, and then a Mark 42 from the movie, same design, but with the color scheme of the comics Mark 42, the stealth thing. It's like, that's fun. That's cool. A cool.
Very
for
cool.
super nerds, like, because I didn't even know that shit.
Man, everyone's wanted the bleeding edge armor forever, because I remember there was like a video
from Matt Fraction's run, right?
I think so, but it's the one that's
with
like
the one with the little dots.
Mm-hmm.
They get that. We kind of get that in Civil War.
And
it looks really cool.
No, the closest you're getting to it, true, but also
and design
Avengers Infinity War.
In appearance, the Civil War one is closer to
yeah, but they've wanted it for a while, and they're like, yeah, it's the one in Iron Man 3, and they're like, no, it's the one in whatever, and it's like, guys, just chill out. It's fine. Yeah. You don't need it. It's but anyways, yeah, I'd give it you know what, A-. I think it's 9. I'll give it a 9. I really enjoyed this movie.
I give it like a B+, which is probably between an 8.5 and a 9.
Yeah.
I think the stuff it does well is better than the other Iron Man movies, but there's still like just the villains. They're not great. In my opinion.
Go check out our Iron Man 2 discussion, because a lot of people shit on that one the most, I think, out of all of them.
Yeah, I don't...
It's just a bridge movie, but it's still very good.
Until it's not. Until he gets house arrest, and then that's when it all comes flooding back to me how I felt about that movie. But leading up to it, it's like, oh shit, this is great. The Iron Man movies are solid.
Yeah.
Most of these trilogies are pretty solid all the way through, which is good on Marvel gets a lot of shade for, I'm going to say, the sameness of their movies, but watching them back to back, like, you see how the formula works to make it. Yes, there are similarities. It's rare for a movie to really like jump out from the pack, unless you're like a Black Panther or Civil War or whatever. But that same structure also makes it rare for one of them to really just. Have any of these been like, oh, that's bad? Like, even Thor's is like, that's not great, but it's not like...
It hasn't reached, like, Inhumans or Iron Fist level of, like,
this is we're not accepting this.
Yeah, this is, go back. Go try, no more Scott Buck, don't do that.
Yeah.
Anyways, but let's move on to our next movie in Phase 2, which is Thor...
Speaking of
The Dark World. Boy, oh boy. And there's a lot of interviews that have come out recently from Christopher Eccleston and a couple other people who were on this movie, and they were like, how they called this movie like a chore, or they called it...
Chris Eccleston doesn't like anything he's done.
No. His Doctor Who quotes recently where he finally talked about what happened, like he got blacklisted by BBC, and I'm like, wow, that blows. Yeah, he seems a little grumpy.
Yeah.
He got grumps.
To be the Doctor Who one, it's like, wow, man. The other ones, G.I. Joe and like Thor, it's like, yeah, but you took the paycheck, dude. Like, you knew what you were getting into.
And he even says that, but he's like, he talked about how painful it is. I'm like, oh, making all that money.
Yeah, it's like when Daniel Craig's like, I'd rather slash my wrist than be Bond again. It's like cool it, dude.
Wow, that's always a
cool it.
Yeah, like we don't know the specifics of what happened, but chill a little bit. Anyways, Thor: The Dark World. When Dr. Jane Foster gets cursed with a powerful entity known as the Ether, Thor is heralded of the cosmic event known as the Convergence and the genocidal Dark Elves. That sentence sounded super weird, but that's the synopsis that was on IMDb.
All right, I'm going to be honest with you, Sam. This has always been my go-to punching bag for my least favorite Marvel movie. Now, watching it again, I think I like it better than the first Thor, mostly because it looks less cheap.
It does.
In my opinion, it's just as clunky as the first Thor. However, it looks less cheap, and therefore, in my mind, it's slightly better.
Director Alan Taylor, in a quote,
who directed everybody's favorite Terminator movie, Terminator Genesis.
Oh, Genesis. He said in an interview that he thought he loved the way Asgard looked in the first movie, but he's like, it doesn't feel like a place where people live. So he tried to make it a little bit more believable. So you see a lot of scenes where like people are walking around or whatever, and you still have that question of like, are these gods?
Yeah,
are these humans?
Because Thor counts
are they
as
just
a god.
Asgardians?
Do they also count as a god?
Yeah.
Are gods aliens? What makes an alien and a god a god? Like, what's the anyway?
You confused us.
Yeah.
But still, I don't enjoy this. There are parts of this movie that I'm like, cool. And then the rest of it, I'm like, I don't care about this. Yeah. Also, the first draft of this movie, which probably almost got Patty Jenkins to direct it, didn't have Loki in it because Loki was added after Avengers got really popular. He wasn't supposed to be in this movie, but he...
good decision.
What, to add him?
To bring Loki back.
Yeah.
Because Loki's, for me, is the real selling point of Thor movies.
In this, though, he acts like a baby the entire time. Like when people talk to him, they're like, yeah, they'll say like, yeah, you're locked up. He's like, yeah, but why am I? I'm like, because you murdered millions of people. He's like, but why did I do that? I don't know. That's on you. I don't know. Like, if I punch somebody in the face, like, there's a logical reasoning of that happening. Like, you being a baby about it doesn't make me like you. He does that basically nonstop in this movie. Like, Thor's like, he talks about his mom, and Loki's saying like, oh, she's not my mom. And he's like, you know what? Fuck you. Because she raised both of us, and she loved you. And he's like, but do you love me? I'm like, Loki, I need you to shut up for like a second.
Speaking of which, Renee Russo as Frigga is really great. I like her one fight sequence that she gets. I think it's cool that she gets a fight sequence. Watching these again, when I saw Ragnarok, they kind of just brush away literally everything.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was like, yeah, fine, forget it. Now going back, it's like,
you built up a lot.
Also, I if I'm being honest, I kind of miss... I'm kind of bummed that we never really did anything with Natalie Portman's Jane Foster. Because even though she's not given a lot, Natalie Portman does a really great job in the role. Like, she's such a good actress. It's like you could have done more with this character. You could have done more with this actress.
See, that's crazy, because when I watch it, she looks bored to tears. And, like... Because when she's delivering lines, because like we just saw like Annihilation recently, and like she's amazing in that. She's really good now. And then I watched this, and I'm like, oh my god, you don't care about what's happening here. And also, she almost quit after Patty Jenkins left. She was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. I don't blame her. Yeah,
which again, the role she's given, but it's like I feel like that relationship could build into something interesting if you put it into the right hands. Now, Thor feels kind of love interest less, which is fine. It's probably for the best.
Maybe Valkyrie, but it's fine if they don't get together.
I actually think these Marvel movies are probably best when they're like sexless, when like there's no like romantic. There's a term for it, like platonic. Everything's kind of platonic, because when they do try and dive deeper into that, it doesn't always work. Avengers Age of Ultron. Anyway,
or Cap Civil War. We'll get to that soon.
That's at least a little more subtle. It's a little easier to say. But something. Oh, you get the villain, or basically throwaway bits I like. In the final battle, concept for the final battle is great. It's just a bummer, because they're battling through the 9 realms. It's just a bummer that every realm but Earth is basically empty.
And it's empty, and it's one note. It's like,
it's like, it's ice.
This is the forest, this is the ice planet, and here's volcano land.
My favorite is we send off the one Asian member of the Warriors 3, Hogan. And there's one part when Thor's battling his world, and he looks over like, should I get involved in that? Nah. But I do, the part about that I like, the one moment in that's cool, is Thor throws, classic Thor move, throws his hammer, and then gets sucked to another world, so the hammer tries to leave Earth to go get him, and then Thor comes back and it reverses. Like, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun bit. My favorite moment, and it means nothing, is when Thor gets his hand cut off, and I wish it mattered. I wish Thor lost his hand in that moment. I think they hadn't introduced Destroyer Arm Thor at that point.
No, but it would have been cool.
Which is a bummer, because then I feel like they would have stuck with it, because they had a comic precedent. But like, I've seen this movie before, and when Loki cuts off his hand, I was like, and then I remembered, this doesn't fucking matter. Nope. But the fact that it got that reaction from me, it's like, no, keep it. That's great.
I will say, positive. I like the way the Dark Elves look, and I do
Design is good.
Design is good, and black hole grenades are so cool.
Yeah, and
Especially-
Heimdall gets that cool moment when he takes down their ship.
Yes, and when Curse, which I had to look up the name because there's not like a clear name.
They don't matter. To me, he's completely interchangeable with Ronan's psychic. Ronan and his sidekick are interchangeable between Christopher Eccleston and whoever the hell his sidekick is in this movie.
Yeah, because they don't matter. They're but Curse, and he's played by Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaji from Lost, and he's Killer Croc in Solo Suicide Squad. He's a good actor, and he's
slight step up to Croc.
A little bit,
barely a step up for Croc.
but he less of a stereotype. But he in this actually fun little thing from the director. They were mainly going to let a stunt double do his stunts.
Yeah,
but his physicality was so specific and so good. They were like, would you be down to do the whole thing? And he's like, oh yeah, and he did it, and it was like, that's kind of cool that he got that into it, even though it's like a nothing role. But his death is so cool. His eyes and like his jaw gets sucked into like the whole.
His design school when he's troll. I was saying, by the way, he was a slight step up when he was Croc.
When he was
because he was actually a character.
Gotcha. I was like, oh, I thought it was a step up with this because he wasn't a stereotype.
Well, until you say tomato, I say tomato.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. It's, both aren't great.
Yeah, both
movies.
are. Yeah, fine. I mean, like in his role in them, it's like you're there, dude, and you do a good job. That's not on you.
Oh, never gonna. Nope. No, you're doing a great job. But I did going through that. Positive.
Yeah.
Chris Evans pretending to be Captain
so much
America.
fun. You know what's super confusing about that scene though, even though it's great, is Loki goes through like 3 different I'm this person, and it's still Tom Hiddleston's voice until they do Cap, and then it's Chris Evans, and it's like
it's a precedent that at the end of the movie when you see the other guard show up, it's the guard that he pretended to be earlier. So that's the Easter egg they set up, even though you kind of saw that coming from like a mile away.
Yeah, but why wouldn't
it's setting up that he can change his voice too?
Yeah, then wouldn't the voice be the same for all the people that he changed? Couldn't you set that up? Why do the confusing thing where it's his voice the first 2 and then Chris Evans' voice? Why not have it be the actor's voice for the first 2?
Oh, because
when he changes, it's
because you get a kind of fun joke when Thor turns into Sif and it sounds like Thor's voice coming out of Jamie Alexander. By the way, fun behind the scenes thing: Jamie Alexander slipped down some stairs during the filming this.
Destroyed her spine.
She chipped 11 vertebrae and slipped a disc, and so I'm like, you probably had a bigger role in this, and they had to change it because you she was
physically couldn't do it.
She was on bed rest for a month, and then she came back and was able to do some stuff. But I'm like, I wouldn't push yourself.
By the way, interesting thing. I think primarily this happened. I don't think this is the first time this happened, but it was a big part of J. Michael Straczynski's run. You know how Thor on Earth is Donald Blake, and then he becomes Thor.
Yeah.
Right. They've ditched that for a long time, and I kind of miss it. Jane Foster was Sif. Jane Foster becomes Sif.
Oh. Was that a normal thing, and then Sif became a person?
Well, Jane Foster, and when Asgard was brought to Earth, each Asgardian had got a human counterpart, and hers was Jane Foster.
When did that
happen?
happen?
That was also kind of in J. Michael Straczynski's run.
Is that new?
It's not. I mean, it was early 2000s. It was before this movie.
Gotcha.
And then, and I think it's happened a few times before, which was why it was kind of weird for me when they're like, Jane Foster's Thor now. It's like, we've done this bit. But anyway, whatever.
That's confusing.
But I hear it's an amazing run.
There you go.
I hear it's an amazing, amazing run.
But overall,
and Natalie Portman would do great in that role.
Yes, or as Sif, or if you gave Jane Foster more things to do. Yeah. But overall, this movie's meh. There's some parts that are more entertaining for me. I can barely say I enjoyed the first movie more. Basically, after on the rewatch, they are now equal in my brain. Of they're just better and worse in different aspects. There's some sweet moments in the first movie.
Yeah.
And to give credit where credit's due, Frigga's whatever you say, Thor's mom's funeral is beautiful, and the music's beautiful. I thought that was
way more than Odin's death.
Yeah, that one's you just tossed that way to the wind where his Odin spores go out into the nothingness. It means more, which is cool, and it has some repercussions as the movie progresses. Just go ahead and punch the mic. But besides that, I don't really care about this. And then the movie means nothing later on. I mean, besides the ether going to the collector and the post-credit scene.
And then Loki possessing Odin, which is so confusing.
Not possessing.
Because, I mean, he switches with Odin.
Yeah.
Which is so confusing because he ends on such a positive, hey, redemptive note, and then how. I don't think we ever find out how he got rid of Odin, even in Ragnarok.
He just threw him into the hole.
What? It's so confusing. Wouldn't it? I think it would have been a better teaser to be don't have the guard coming over to investigate. That clearly means Loki's coming back in, but that doesn't matter till the end of the movie. Have maybe an after credit scene where Loki's wandering the 9 realms to kind of find himself, and then maybe we could get a redemptive arc to where we don't always, even though everybody's treating him like he's a buddy, we're like, but wait, didn't he murder at least hundreds of people?
At least.
Maybe he was under the thrall of Thanos, and we should forgive that. Anyway, I give it a C. What, like a 7?
Yeah. By the way, there is a theory out there that because he was holding the scepter, that's why he got so crazy evil in Avengers, and that's why he kind of
evil in Thor 1.
Oh, definitely. But he calmed down. Like, there's definitely a personality change between him. I don't really care about that though, because I like Loki, but I don't have like that much of an attachment to him.
I like Tom Hiddleston a lot.
Me
If you've ever
too.
seen Only Lovers Left Alive, it's him and Tilda Swinton, and it's as amazing as that sounds. I give it a C. I give it it exists. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen.
C-.
Like a 7.
C-, almost a D+ for me. Out of 10, that's like a 6 or almost like a 5. It's just floating in between that. But let's talk about a movie that we really want to talk about. Ones. Oh yeah. It's on the lower end of the spectrum, but let's talk about
on the higher end.
On the higher end, maybe the top, depending. Let's talk about Captain America: Winter Soldier. The Winter Soldier. I'll go ahead and pull up a synopsis really quick. But boy, oh boy, did I not want to see this in theaters because when I first saw the first Captain America movie because I was like slightly younger. Yeah. I was so bored in the first Captain America movie. On the rewatch now, I know the first Captain America movie is actually awesome. It's a really good movie. But as a kid, I was like, oh, it's in the 40s. It's just like, you kind of like there were a lot of war movies coming out around the same time. So I'm like, oh, this is so boring. And he kind of seemed like a bummer, like out of all the Avengers. And in Avengers, in the first Avengers movie, he got some cool moments, but overall, it was like he seemed like a wet blanket. But in this, I finally went and saw this movie, and some people were like, "This is better than Avengers," and I do think that's true.
Yes.
And you kind of get your own little Avengers with like Falcon and Black Widow. But here's your quick synopsis based on IMDb. As Steve Rogers struggles to embrace his role in the modern world, he teams up with a fellow Avenger and S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Black Widow to battle a new threat from history, an assassin known as the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, so this is
It's Bucky. Spoilers.
This is a spoiler. Did anybody not know that?
I knew it, but I wish people didn't say anything to me because that would have been a really fun reveal.
You know what? I don't know if it is. I wonder if it would have been. It would have been a fun reveal, but it doesn't. Him being Bucky almost makes the movie feel overstuffed because there's a lot of like twists and turns and reveals and like nobody is what you think they are doing and everything goes on, and it's like by the time that you get to the Bucky reveal, it's like the 5th twist in the movie, and you're like, geez, and it doesn't tie into the themes at all. So I wonder if it helps if you know.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it does. I'm not sure because I knew going in, so it's hard for me to say. But on the rewatch, man, I rewatch this movie maybe once a year.
Same.
It's
so
one
of the 3 Marvel movies I own.
What are the 3?
Avengers, Winter Soldier, and Civil War.
It's a good 3.
Yeah, it actually makes a pretty solid trilogy, really. Yeah. But I watch this movie regularly because the cast is fantastic, obviously.
And the performances are top. The Russo brothers got such good performances from Samuel L. Jackson. Like he doesn't like Nick Fury in Avengers is good.
Coolest Nick Fury moment. Like I love that I saw an interview with Sam Jackson where he told Joss Whedon like, "Hey, I'm down to do whatever, just don't make me run." And it's tough because you want action spy Nick Fury. And the resolution of that is one of the coolest fucking action car sequences in any fucking movie. It's such the whole like
there's like humor beats and like cool tech and like you get some spy stuff and it's like
and you could be talking about just that scene or the whole movie.
Yes, exactly. And it's his cliffhanger in the movie is kind of like, you already know, like it's Nick Fury, you're probably gonna get him again. But it's such a cool sequence for him, and I'm so glad he got that. Also, the Winter Soldier reveal in that scene is pretty terrifying.
It's weird because knowing that he's Bucky and knowing where things turn out, it's weird to think about when you think about MCU villains. Winter Soldier technically counts, and he's basically the Terminator in these movies. It's so effective. The second he shows up, you know shit is going down. Mm-hmm. Like in the music cue, you're like, oh no!
He's like a ghost. He's like you're not going to be able to stop him. Also, best Black Widow performance. Yes, no, 100%. This is not that she's been bad at anything. She's really good in Avengers. She gets a lot of stuff to work with. But in this, it's like she becomes way more human, and like just seeing her and Steve have to deal with like all this stuff they have to like grapple with now that their entire world is basically a lie.
Yeah, and it's cool because they have such an interesting dynamic that because they're so different. And I was the one live tweeting this. Thankfully, that was a lot of fun for me. But knowing. at the time, I was very glad that their relationship was platonic. It didn't feel romantic. It felt like...
But they flirted with it.
They flirted with it. And now knowing the direction of those characters, I kind of wish they just decided that they were a couple. Because I compared to other people they've been paired with, I like their dynamic better. Mm-hmm. And it makes people like, no, they're too different. I'm like, well, no, that's actually what makes the relationship interesting.
Yeah.
You don't want to be with somebody that's just you, but with different genitals. Like, you want somebody that challenges you, and they bring out the best in each other, I think.
I totally agree.
And Sam Wilson, Falcon, he's so good.
His introduction...
Anthony Mackie's so good.
It's also one of the best introductions in a movie when they're doing the running. It's such a good joke.
Great opening to the movie. Great... And also, the Russos are so good about getting to it. Mm-hmm. Listen, we've got like 10 characters in this movie that all matter and all need arcs. We're just going to cut to... Right off the bat, Steve and Falcon are meeting and becoming buddies.
Mm-hmm. And you get, with that intro, you get one of the coolest action scenes Captain America will ever get, period. And it's on the Lumerian Star when he's running. You see him running down the boat, and he's taking out guys, and you're like, clearly these people are probably dying, getting hit in the face with this shield.
No, the worst one is when...
it goes through the window.
It goes through the window, and you see it happens so fast, but you see it hit a guy, and then you see it like jam into the back of the wall, and like, oh, he's just decapitated a dude with a shield.
Yeah.
Cap just straight up cut somebody's head off with a shield.
But we're not going to talk about that.
And then you get the fight with
Batroc,
which is another cool thing. The writer, I'm going to look up
I got you.
Look up the writers, because they're also...
Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely.
Which they also worked on Thor Dark World, but we're not going to hold that against them.
Moving on.
Yeah. but they do something with these characters, because they did Cap 1, and they're working on the new Avengers. That reminds me a lot of Justice League Unlimited, where they know they have a limited amount of time, so they cut right to the core aspects of a character, or try to, like, nobody cares about Batroc. Like, nobody was like, oh, I need to see Batroc in a movie. But you make him a great physical foil.
Also,
like that fight and this interpretation of Batroc's great.
He's a real MMA fighter, and this was his first, I think, an almost only acting gig, which is crazy that he didn't get cast more and things.
Yeah, he's
a real fighter.
Yeah, and you can tell.
And also, it's the biggest Cap's ever been muscle-wise. I remember, like, he wears that shirt in the beginning, and you're like, Jesus Christ!
Oh, you're forgetting Civil War, and he grabs the helicopter.
Yes!
But yeah.
Everybody got boners in that theater. You're like, oh, yeah! Hell yeah!
And I think that's one of the... I think a lot makes this movie stand out. For one, best action, just great, tangible, physical, practical action.
And they got... not Paul Newman. What's his name?
Robert Redford to be the bad guy. Which he's not... It's cool that it's him and that he gets to play... Because it's always cool when you cast an actor that's traditionally the white hat as the bad guy.
And he clearly had fun with it.
Yeah, but he doesn't really stand out so much.
Not really.
But
I don't remember his name.
Yeah.
Pierce.
No. Yeah, Alexander Pierce. But also, I think, for me, this is like tonally the sweet spot for these MCU movies. Or at least, not for all of them, but I think it's a good... Because not only is it...
For Cap.
It's surprisingly serious for an MCU film, but it's still fun and energetic. The elevator fight. The elevator fight's so cool.
And then he jumps out just like, 20 stories in pancakes on the ground. So cool.
Like every 10 minutes, there's an iconic action sequence in this movie.
And it's so cool with the Armin Zola reveal. So you're never going to get like Armin Zola, the robot.
You basically get it because you get the camera on top of the computer monitor and then his face goes in the monitor. And if you add arms and legs to that, that's basically robot Armin Zola.
Yeah, if you guys don't know, in the comics, he's like a robot where a human downloaded his brain into it. And there's like a TV screen where you see his face and his tummy.
Which would be fun, but this did the trick.
And there was going to be a scene after like he explodes after the missile that a robot was going to run away, and it was like, that sounds ridiculous. It's
good call not to do that.
He's a computer virus now. You could just download him anywhere.
He probably literally is anywhere. And it also, this is one of the few times I was genuinely surprised in a Marvel film. One, the reveal, Arnim Zola, didn't expect him to come back. Then the reveal that Hydra was in S.H.I.E.L.D., that had recently been in the comics with Secret Warriors, but the fact that they were going for it, and then the fact that they stuck with it, like, hey, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s dunzo.
We don't know what to... Yeah, like, if it's this fucked...
Yeah.
Burn it all and start over.
But I was genuinely surprised by that.
Yeah, and also confusing that you just started an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show literally like 6 months before this started.
To be fair, that gave that show a real shot in the arm.
It did.
This whole plotline really elevated that show.
If only they had brought S.H.I.E.L.D. back in the movies in any capacity.
Yeah. Can I, real quick, I love this movie. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies, but I've watched it a bunch now. Mm-hmm. And having watched it a bunch, I've noticed some...
Flaws?
we can call them flaws.
Remember when Bucky kicks that guy into the helicopter? Just needed to say that really quick.
You know, the one that always gets me is when he yanks Sitwell from the car and throws him in front of a truck. That one always like, oh my god. Oh no, and Sitwell's bad. I shouldn't give a shit about Sitwell, but I'm like,
it's so quick and you don't have a chance to process it.
Yeah, it's so brutal. Thematically, this movie is kind of a mess because, and also this starts the trend. And granted, it is Cap's movie. I wish Tony gets interrogated up the beehole on everything he does. Like everything he does, the movies question all the time. Cap always right. Oh my goodness, always right all the time. Cap's never asked to question his moral belief, at least by the movies. Like other characters would be like, Cap, you're so old-fashioned, but like you can tell the movie's like, no, we need old-fashioned. And guess what? The 40s weren't always great. People's philosophies in the 40s weren't always great. It's the greatest generation. They saved us from Hitler, but it doesn't mean everything was perfect and everything they did was perfect. And I wish, especially, maybe more in Civil War, but like I wish somebody would call Cap out on his bullshit. Like his whole like, never compromise ever, I'm always right. It's like, fucking cool it, dude. Mm-hmm. And it becomes a little, again, I watched this movie a bunch at this point. It's kind of like, hey, we should, this whole, what is it, Project Enlightenment or whatever? Project Insight. This is bad. You can't preemptively whatever. You need to trust people. The whole thing seems to be like, be less paranoid. But then like Cap's big speech at the end is like, hey, by the way, we're going to do the right thing here. And definitely somebody beside you is definitely Hydra. And it's like, wait, what is this movie trying to tell me? Like, don't be paranoid, but also people are out to get you. Like,
that speech I don't think speaks to a theme for the movie. It's more of it showing his inspiration. I understand what you're talking about, but I think that might not work. But what I also see that in Civil War, they literally never question Cap. Even though it's his movie, he needs to be questioned too because both are wrong and both are right. Like that's the point of the argument is that you have to come to an agreement.
I just wish they kind of, the most self-aware moment Cap has ever gotten is actually, we'll talk about in a minute, it's in Age of Ultron, and I wish some of that would bleed into his Captain America movies where he Cap does not have an arc in these movies. He does not learn a lesson. Everybody around him learns the lesson that Cap is right all the time. And I don't really like that so much. Again, having watched these movies a bunch, the last two Cap movies a bunch, because I like them a lot. That's not me saying I don't like him.
He's a great character. He's a really likable presence on screen, and the stories they give him are amazing. I understand. I don't know if I agree, but I understand.
Yeah.
But I did want to bring up I think this is the first time emotionally that one of these Marvel movies has gotten me. I'm trying to go through the list of the movies in my head really quick, but I think when him and Bucky at the end of the movie are like fighting, and it's pretty hard to get through. It's like because Bucky can't control himself. Basically, he is a weapon. He is a gun, and he is going to finish what he was starting to like. What his mission is.
Yeah.
And Cap gives up, and he's just like, I'm not going to. I'm not gonna. Then I get what you mean there. It's like he's not gonna move.
But that makes it, and that's another thing. Is like I don't know if Winter Soldier's involvement. I don't know what this movie's trying to say to the point that I'm not sure. It feels like a spy thriller. It's definitely a cool spy thriller. It feels like it's trying to say something about like government overreach and all that stuff, but it doesn't quite land on any point. And stuff it says, like, again, Cap's against like being as paranoid as Nick Fury is, except everything Nick Fury and Black Widow says is proven to be right because they are.
It's how they go about it, though.
Is it? Like, I don't know if the movie, can make that argument. I just don't think the movie really does. And again, it's a nitpick. It's still a fun movie. Cast is winning, like you said. Some of the best use of Black Widow and Nick Fury.
And Falcon. Falcon gets cool stuff in Civil War, but
something I want to touch on real quick. I love how Falcon's basically the Zeddemore, like from Ghostbusters when they introduced Zeddemore, where he's like, "Oh, this is just my job." Like one of my favorite jokes in all the MCU is when Black Widow and Cap are having a heart-to-heart, and Falcon comes in like, "Hey, I made breakfast. If y'all eat that sort of thing or whatever." It's just a cool, and unfortunately then you get the reveal like, oh, actually I was part of a secret ops flying division, so I'm not just a dude. It's like, I still love you, Anthony Mackie. And the suit's cool.
It's so cool. Metal wings. I prefer those. Those are, and he's got a little jetpack. Yeah. I did want to bring up. Well, actually, I kind of want to talk about that for just a second. Like when it's about themes.
Yeah.
What do you see the theme? What do you see as the general theme of the movie, or what it was trying to do initially?
I'm not. That's the point.
That's a tough question. I don't know if you had that on the top of your head.
No, that's the thing. I'm not sure anymore because it doesn't. It counteracts its own points. So it feels like it's making a point. It feels like it's about government oversight and like don't our police state where it's like there's cameras on every corner and you got to catch everything what they're doing. But that doesn't work. That point doesn't work. Like, hey, that point would be, hey, don't go looking for trouble. Don't look for an enemy under every rock. If you try to prevent a war before it happens, you know what I mean? That's not good. That doesn't work when actually there is a secret evil organization that has infiltrated all the good guys, and you should be then you should be doing what you're doing. Like, why that you can't say paranoia is bad and then be like, every paranoid thought you've ever had is true.
Well, I guess it kind of deals with two different ideas, where it's more like controlling people as you get ahead of the game, but also trying to save lives is getting ahead of the game as well. So it's like the Hydra manipulated S.H.I.E.L.D. into thinking that, like, no, this is a way that we could end wars.
No.
But really it was about controlling people by getting rid of threats. Like anyone they see as a potential threat, which I get. I understand what you mean, but I'm okay with that. The main theme is that is freedom. Should be freedoms are protected.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you should be preemptively attacking people that could threaten your freedom.
Yeah.
But it's more like just trusting people and just trying to see the best in them, I guess.
I think at the end of the day, it's just a fun action movie. To me,
we might be going too deep.
Yeah, I think it felt like more because it brushes against certain things.
And it's so good.
Yeah, and it's so good. But I think at the end of the day, it's a fun action movie with a fun, cool tone that really isn't necessarily super about anything, which is fine.
It's fine.
My only real wish is I wish Cap learned a lesson from the people around him. Learned stuff. I wish, and this is a perfect situation for him to learn that, like, not everybody's perfect all the time. Like Bucky's not perfect all the like his friend has a dark side, and having a dark side doesn't make you evil. It'd be cool if everybody kind of found a balance in each other. You know what I mean? And I feel like you could work on that, and I don't really feel like the movie touches on that. But again, at the end of the day, it's a cool action movie that I really enjoy.
There is, I guess this does kind of pay off in Civil War a little bit about mainly what Cap learns, which might not be great, but there is a through line between all of those.
Yeah, it is. Yes,
through all three technically because of where Cap's going. I don't know if you could call that growth, but it is, or I guess it's him eventually going out on his own and just trying to be a good person by the end. I don't know. We'll get to Civil War. Maybe I can come up with a more coherent thought. But if we're gonna rate this 10 out of 10, easy. For me, I give it an A. So maybe a 9 out of 10. Like, I give it a solid. Oh no, that's 9.5. 9.5. Like I wouldn't say it's completely perfect, but I would definitely give it like an almost there. Really fantastic. Easily one of the best MCU movies. 9.8. I really liked it. But let's move on to the the first of the only non-sequels in Phase 2. I don't even know what I just said. Guardians of the Galaxy!
Hey!
Directed by James Gunn. Here's your synopsis. Everyone's seen it, but anyways, I'll say it. A group of intergalactic criminals are forced to work together to stop a fanatical warrior from taking control of the universe. The synopsis, there's some should have said Galaxy, but whatever.
Yeah.
That's how it...
kind of blew it on the synopsis, whoever wrote that one.
Kind of blew it. So it stars... Star-Lord Peter Quill, Gamora, Drax, Groot, and Rocket Raccoon.
Otherwise known as Chris Pratt, Vin Diesel, Bradley Cooper, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, and Lee Pace as everybody's favorite villain,
Ronan the Accused.
Who's actually coming back for Captain Marvel, and I kind of hope they do more with that character. Ronan's actually pretty interesting in the comics, and here he's just bad guy.
He clearly has a lot of fun in the role, though, which is... Yeah. When you watch it, he's playing it up. He seems... I mean, if he's coming back, he's probably had a good time and is willing to come back for it as well. But yes.
Are you saying they could, if they did a flashback, you don't think they could make it work to come back?
No. Oh, no. He hated it. He hates that movie.
So.
Yes?
These Guardians movies are not for me. Sam, what you like this movie a lot.
Yes.
Tell me
watching it when I was in the theaters, because I was kind of on the fence. Weirdly, Guardians trailers don't like quite click for me. But then I go watch the movie and I have a blast watching them. The first, everything leading up until the prison break scene is kind of rough. It's like, I will say that. The movie, though, I really enjoy, and I own this one because I own it like on 2 different things because I really enjoy this film.
You know it on DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, and iTunes.
The VHS one was a pain, but I had to get it.
Get my VCR that recorded it from the TV. Yeah,
it was like a Nickelodeon slime green VHS that I taped over, so it's pretty exciting.
That would actually be the perfect.
Wasn't it? Yeah. Put a little brown on there too. It's like a little Groot tape.
Yeah.
But no, it's a little rough for me because it some of the characters and the jokes. James Gunn sometimes he has a lot of funny moments, but sometimes he shoots a little too high, and that doesn't mean they always land, but that's okay, because as soon as all that clicks in and they start working as a team and not individuals, this movie works really, really well. Dave Bautista, like, it's very cool to see him kind of stretch some of his, like, comedic muscles.
Yep.
I don't find him to be, like, the funniest, but a lot of his jokes hit really, really well in this movie. The movie doesn't take itself too seriously, which is okay, because when it does really, like, hunker down and like deal with something that's emotionally really hard, like Peter Quill's, like one of the most terrifying and depressing intros to a movie is when he loses his mom in the beginning. And it's really cool. It's a very scary, like, this is everything you know, and now we're about to explode that, and you're going to see an entirely new galaxy of like other creatures and other worlds and everything like that, even though John C. Reilly's out there. And after they get together and they start working together, and you're the Collector, and you're realizing the scope of this is way bigger than an Avengers movie. It's like, this is next Lex Luthor level.
Yeah.
And from there, when I was watching it in theaters, as soon as we get into the final battle on Xandar, these dumb names that I now have in my head, can't even remember the person I just talked to at like the restaurant we went to for lunch, but I remember Xandar.
Yeah.
What a goddamn nerd. Anywho, when that whole scene happens, I leaned forward and my jaw was just open the entire time, because I was like, this must be what, for me, this felt like what Star Wars must have felt like when people watched it. Just because, in the sense that, don't think I'm comparing the two, it's the sensation of...
Be careful with those fans.
Yeah, but what I mean is that the sensation of seeing something I've never seen before. And maybe I have, but it's how it's presented to me is totally new to me. And because I've watched Star Wars before, and it's not that they're not good, but for this, it was like, this is new. Like, these effects are awesome. These characters I'm like connecting with in a really cool way, and they're all kind of like lovable assholes, sometimes too much, but like for the most part, I really like them, and they're all very diverse, and I think that's cool. Also, it's a talking, walking tree. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And when it's my favorite moment, and I think besides like the Civil War fight, my favorite moment in any MCU movie is in this one, is when he holds the Infinity Stone and like he's kind of like dying and he sees his mom. In theaters, I teared up really hard during that scene, and they're all kind of holding hands. And it's showing just like, it's this the music's building and all these effects, and it's just like this fuck yeah moment where it's just like boners out in the wind, riding a motorcycle off in the sunset, you're on fire, you're like, fuck yeah. Like that kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Happens in every movie. But it's this awesome spectacle of a film, and it ends on a really cool note where he reads the letter from his mom, and you realize that's the coolest origin for any name. That is the most thoughtful origin for any name in any of these characters. Is my little Star-Lord. It's just like, because she used it, she called him that because she knew where the dad came from, and it was like, and even though she didn't grasp it totally, like it trickled down into like nicknaming her son. And it was like, no, you'll meet your dad one day. He's like my little Star-Lord, because he's like not a king, he's like a little less than that. It's so sweet, and Chris Pratt acts the shit out of this role, even though you can definitely tell he tried to do a southern accent, and it kind of twings in and out of that a little bit. And you get some really hard...
Why was that decision made?
I'm guessing because they wanted him to be from Missouri, which James Gunn is from Missouri as well, and it was like, you didn't quite get it. Which would have been interesting to have like a Western theme, Firefly thing in space, whatever. But you get some really strong acting moments from Bradley Cooper as Rocket when he's talking about what he is and how he knows how people see him, and there's nothing he can do about it, so he's an asshole about it. Or Gamora, we'll talk about that. She could be utilized better in both of these Guardians movies, but I do like what she brings to the table as well. And Drax too. That like at first, before they overuse him in Guardians 2, his like him not understanding what is it, metaphors?
Yeah.
They go over his head, whatever.
No, nothing goes over his head.
He'll catch it.
Yeah.
See, it's a fun joke. And
his
Groot.
reflexes are too fast. That's what I was thinking of.
And Groot's endearing, and he endures.
Yes.
Anyways, I think I've said literally everything I possibly could.
Yeah.
Now tear me apart.
No. I'm glad you have that feeling. I enjoyed your explanation of your feelings more than I enjoyed the movie.
Does that scene not do anything for you when he grabs the Infinity Stone?
Nope.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Well, because it doesn't make any... So at the beginning... I was going to start positive, but now we're going into it. Mm-hmm. So at the beginning, his mom's like, hold my hand! And he's like, no. And then she immediately dies. And then he runs away. And then
people die of heartbreak all the time.
All the time. And I think that's maybe my biggest problem is I feel... It's what happens when a movie's not clicking for you. When a movie's not clicking for you, you can see the gears moving. So you're not feeling the feelings. It's like watching a clock. It's like watching like the pieces of a watch move. You're like, fine. I mean, it's fine. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, the charms of this movie are lost on me. So for me,
that's okay. And that's the best way to say it too.
Yeah, it's just not. It's just not for me. You know, I like elements of the movie. I think the music is well executed.
And by the score, you mean like the
score?
tape.
The score for these movies rarely stand out for me, but the soundtrack is not overbearing. When it executes licensed tracks, it does it in a very effective way. Mm-hmm. This movie's paced very well. Like the way it gives information is. I watched Valerian, City of a Thousand Worlds,
Planets,
A Thousand Planets, and to me that's kind of like interchangeable sci-fi. But the pacing on this movie is better. I would say something like Valerian is more wildly creative. Like you talk about shit you haven't seen in a movie, you're like, oh fuck, this is amazing.
But also you had read some Guardians comics, so you kind of had some thing going into it.
I've read some of like Silver Surfer, some of Dan Abnett and Andy Landing's Guardians run, which this is based off of. And something I like about those is the scope and the scale and the like wow. And I think something that's always kind of not clicked for me when Marvel tries to do bigger cosmic is I don't get that feeling of like Thor or this where it's like, oh wow, this is big. It's always like, hey, look at our actors dick around on a soundstage. You know what I mean? Like it's fine.
That's weird because for me it does click like in Guardians 2 when they do like the teleporting moving through space.
Guardians 2 is bigger and has more money. It is not as well paced as this movie. Yeah,
so I agree on that.
So it has different things, and so the music's well executed. It's well paced. I like the premise. I like the idea of these kind of like lovable asshole scoundrels. Like that's cool. Like that's a cool premise for a movie. What doesn't click for me is I don't find it very funny, which is a challenge for this. For like this and Deadpool, if those jokes aren't funny to you, the movie becomes more challenging. And I find something I like about the bigger cosmic stuff or team books in particular is the team dynamic where everybody brings something different to the table. For me, it feels like, hey, what if we had a team of all the comic relief characters except for Gamora? She's the mom. She's the one that scolds everybody and helps keep them on track because girls don't get to have fun in the universe. And it also bums me out, like, in the comics, Gamora is the deadliest woman in the universe. Like
which
she's
they
supposed
probably
to be.
used that term before in this movie.
I feel like it's used in the movie, but I don't remember hearing it this time watching. And I've seen it a few times, like 3 or 4 times, because I tried to get it. I want to be on the same page with everybody else. And she gets her ass handed to her by everybody. Literally, anytime she has to fight a named male character, done. And it's kind of lame. It's kind of she should be kicking everybody else's ass because of who she is as a character. Like the whole Drax not being able to understand metaphors is original to this, and it's just like it doesn't. None of these. I don't care about any of these characters. So when their lives are in peril, or somebody's gonna die, I don't really care. And then like the whole hand thing. So the hand thing at the beginning doesn't click because it's like hold my hand, no, and then at the end. He gets the gem, and then she's like, hold my hand, and then Gamora reaches for her hand, and they're like, what the fuck is this supposed to mean? Because he didn't hold her hand, not because he felt theoretically, holding Gamora's hand means, like, now he's accepted a group, except that's not what him not grabbing his mom's hand meant. Like, this doesn't mean anything. It's just, here's an image, they represent each other. No, they don't!
Yes, it does.
Well, how?
It's closure. It's closure.
On what?
On that he didn't... He was so afraid of what he was confronting at that moment that he was about to lose the only parent he had at that moment in the beginning.
Yes.
And because he hesitated for a second, he doesn't get to say that goodbye to his mom. That's never...
How does that apply to the ending in any way at all?
What is that? It's asking for help. It's asking that like it from then on he's by himself. That he closed off entirely. He doesn't make connections with anyone. He doesn't have friends. He hasn't grown as a human being.
Wait, hold on. What out of the movie gave you that?
Based on how he acts, and also but on the visuals, what that you say that don't make sense. It's that on the end is when he's asking for help, and he's getting it's basically life flashing before his eyes, and he's seeing his mom, and I don't even know if he can see Gamora in that moment. I don't know if he's looking at that, but the visual for me in that is that he has found people that can be a support system like a family can be, which is a big theme in the second movie, and kind of this one. They try to like at least sow the seeds of it, and by him choosing to grab hands or like allowing like that to happen means that he has grown a little bit, and that like he gets to now move on and be at least try to move on and do new things in his life.
I appreciate that interpretation you got, and I'm going to choose that to be what the movie was trying to say.
I felt like that's what it was because it was
we'll go with that.
Mom, Gamora. I'm in love with moms. Gamora is a mom of the team. Smooch the mom.
I'm gonna listen. I like that explanation. We're gonna go with it.
Okay.
I'm not completely convinced the movie gives that info. To me, it doesn't matter. We're gonna go with that. Okay. I like that explanation. We're gonna go with it.
That's what I got from watching it.
And
so,
again,
yeah.
It's not. I
get
like
why
I like these characters in the comic. I like Marvel's cosmic stuff, and nothing's really captured that energy for me. And so it just doesn't click for me. But I'm wrong because everybody else.
No.
Like almost, I don't know anybody else that is not on board with the Guardians movies.
No,
which is fine. And again, thank God they're for it because I like these characters. Thank God that a fucking talking raccoon with a giant gun is as successful as it is because I like Rocket in the comics. You know what I mean? I like Groot. The one Guardian that is funny to me is Rock. Like he gets my favorite moments in the thing. So thank God everybody loves it. I wish I liked these movies more.
I wish you did too. But I will say to agree with you that the humor sometimes is just like. Okay, let's move on. And we're just gonna take this is a breathing moment. Let's move on from here.
Yeah.
Also, since I had never read it, when they go to nowhere, there's like, there's a city inside.
So cool.
They're inside of a giant head right now.
And the set pieces are smart. The idea of the escaping from the prison, the escaping from nowhere with the mining ships with the hands.
Those are cool.
The last battle is kind of like just another.
It goes on for fucking ever.
City destroying things. So
I loved it
compared to the other action sequences. That doesn't stand out as much to me. And just little. I wish the movie had like when. I don't want to keep picking it apart.
No, go for it.
It's when like at the beginning, when Star-Lord like walks into what's supposed to be the temple, and it's supposed to be, you can tell it's supposed to be this moment of like a hero shot, like oh shit, Star-Lord, and it's just like the direction seems to be make sure he's in frame, and it's like no, how about you pitch it a little lower so he steps in and he feels epic, like, and then he goes in and he starts listening to his Walkman and he starts dancing, and it's just him dancing, and he jumps over some stuff, and it's like what, shouldn't it be like an Indiana Jones type thing where he's like disarming traps and he's done this so much that he doesn't care, so this is just him dancing as opposed to like, you know, it'd be cool as if Star-Lord started this movie dancing.
So wait, would you have wanted him to not dance period and just him listening to music? And
I would have him be dancing, make me feel the space more. If this is supposed to be this heavily guarded thing, have it be like Indiana Jones traps. So it's like an Indiana Jones sequence. It just, he's listening to music while it's happening and dancing his way through it because he's done it so much. Mm-hmm. That gives me a better impression of who he is as a character. And it's also more than just this exists. Mm. Hey, Star-Lord likes that. What I get from that scene is like, hey, that's Chris Pratt. He's Star-Lord. He likes music.
Mm-hmm. I get that. I get that complaint, or I get that idea. I still like the intro to it because it's like. But then when you just poked a hole in it that I don't even see watching it, and I've watched it like 10 goddamn times. That this thing isn't guarded in any way. It's behind a door, but he picks it with normal lock picking tools that you'd find on Earth.
It's similar to like Guardians 2, where like.
There's more problems with that movie.
Yeah, it's worse in Guardians 2, where like, why the fuck did Rocket bring the speaker? Why is Groot listening to? Why is this happening? I feel like there's a way you could have like contextualized all these fucking goofballs as opposed to like, I think Star-Lord's like, why'd you bring the boombox? And Rocket's like, like, why is this? It's worse in Guardians 2. It's worse in Guardians 2. But it's the same, like, why is this happening? I just, like, when they go to, Benicio del Toro's great just because anytime they, like, hey, be fucking weird.
You ever seen an actor, you're like, I like your work, but we definitely wouldn't hang out.
Right.
Benicio del Toro.
I desperately want to see him and Jeff Goldblum because in the comics they're supposed to be brothers. I desperately want to see those characters interact.
It too, but geez,
It'd be so weird.
I don't think other actors could be in that scene, or even other people in the room when they shoot it, because it'd be like, no.
It's like looking at Ark of the Covenant. You have to turn away.
It's like sex scenes. It's like it's a closed set. We can't have people in here.
But like when they go to the set design is cool. I just don't get a sense of the scale or the space. None of it. It just doesn't. It doesn't feel like. I'm not wowed for me.
For you. Here, let's rank it or rate it. Not rank it. We'll rank them at the end. For me, I really enjoy this movie and I watch it damn near constantly. So it's definitely at like a 9.2, something like that. So it's
nice. I'm a C+.
Cool.
So what is that? A 7.5? No, it's like 7.8 maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Which is not as bad as I thought, because that's
it's
Thor
fine.
and you have that Thor is the same for you.
Thor is a C.
And there's a C+.
Yes. So this is better than the Thors.
You enjoy this more than the Thors.
I think it's a better constructed movie. It is very well paced. The way it gives out information, the way it moves is actually really fucking solid. And it still looks cool. Like the design of Drax's tattoos, fucking cool.
Groot?
Yeah.
And literally anything Groot, when he makes a ladder
Groot's
for
great.
himself.
Honestly, if you just made this a Groot rocket movie, I'd probably enjoy it more. Because those are my favorite parts. We Are Groot doesn't, the third or fourth time watching it doesn't
mean a lot.
But I appreciate, this is a lot of me watching the Guardians. Oh, I appreciate the idea behind this.
That's not a great way to watch a movie.
I'm sorry, I've tried. I've legitimately tried.
Hey,
I want to like these movies.
We can all let DJ off the
ship,
hook.
Milano looks cool. Star Wars ship looks cool.
The way it moves is like one of those balancing bird toys you used to get. Like it's built the same way, but the way it moves too, it's like it looks like it very easily moves around in the space.
My favorite reveal is when after he goes off on the adventure, which again would have been cool if it was like an Indiana Jones setup. Anyway, he leaves and you realize there's the girl has been in the ship the whole time. Awesome. Like that's good. Like that's a cool bit.
Also, we didn't talk about him at all, but Yondu, I really enjoy his portrayal in this movie.
I like Michael Rooker.
Yes, I like Michael Rooker with some blue paint on.
Yeah.
And what do you think about his arrow?
It's cool.
Cool.
Going back and rewatching it, it's like, the scene in 2 is way cooler.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they got the build off of it.
Cooler.
But in this, it's funny because he's doing the arrow thing. And it's like, why are they all standing around? It's this arrow.
He's like literally right there. You could shoot your gun.
Yeah, like person at the end, see that it's going through a ship before it got to you.
Confusing to me is Ronan is Kree. Krees are the bad guys. However, his foot soldiers are not Krees.
They're Sakaran.
What?
Yes.
Is that a thing in something else?
Yeah, the Sakaar is the planet where Planet Hulk is.
Did we know that in this movie?
No.
It's retroactively made.
Because it was supposed to be the Badoon, but that was like a Fox thing. So they literally...
But they call them like Necronauts or some shit, right?
Necrocraft is the ship.
Got it.
I did a breakdown on this. I got you.
What are you talking about? The ship design is cool.
It is.
Ronan's giant ship. Also, Ronan's boring, but the scene with Josh Brolin is going to be good as Thanos.
That was really good. And Nebula, is there? Her mechanical healing thing will always make me feel sick.
Honestly, I feel like Nebula's personality should be Gamora's. Nebula's more interesting to me than Gamora is. And that's not on Zoe Saldana. She's great. It's just, her role in team is girl. Mm-hmm. And at least Nebula gets to be like fucking angry at everything. Like it just stands out more. Mm-hmm. She's good in that.
I'm excited to watch 2. I don't know how it's going to hold up, but I'm excited to watch it to see.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how those two play out in Avengers Infinity War.
One of them's going to die.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big one, though. The one that's supposed to be the end of the MCU Phase 2. Avengers Age of Ultron.
Oh, I have mixed feelings on this one.
I got pretty clear ones.
You do not like it.
No. That's a no. There are some fun moments. But except for I think the more general consensus for this movie is that it's from fine to mixed to hate it. Like no one really loves.
I was shocked.
Movie.
I did the live tweet for this one. I was shocked at the vitriol, not towards me, but towards the movie.
Oh yeah, there was a guy I was talking to. He said like he was kind of half in, half out with like Marvel movies, and then he saw this one. He's like, nah, I don't need to watch them anymore. I wasn't.
Wow, that's intense. Okay, so I watched this twice in theaters, so this is my third time seeing it.
Here's a quick synopsis.
Give me the synopsis, sorry.
Oh, yeah. When Tony Stark and Bruce Banner try to jumpstart a dormant peacekeeping program called Ultron, things go horribly wrong, and it's up to Earth's mightiest heroes to stop the villainous Ultron from enacting his terrible plan. What a generic thing to write.
I don't feel like that intro's right. The dormant.
I'm gonna Google the synopsis, but that's actually what the pitch was before this movie came out. It was like, no, it was a dormant peacekeeping program from S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's what Ultron was.
That would have been better.
That's why, because there's tiebacks to Pym, is that Pym could have made it.
I think that would have been better, because it's very confusing on whether we should or should not blame Tony? Because Tony made it, but then stuff Ultron says when he first comes in implies that, like, he just came into existence, or perhaps he's part of the Mind Stone. Like, there are implications that he came from someplace else, so maybe it's not Tony's fault, and it's like, what the fuck is happening here?
I'm confused by it, but what I got is they had a program, like this is the directive, and we're going to try to run it on this computer, Mind Stone, but it just wasn't connecting, and then all of a sudden, on a 57th whatever test, it paired for some reason, and it was just Ultron stuck on its one mission, which is world peace.
I like that.
I didn't get that until right now. I thought about it, though.
Well, but also they show that the Mind Stone's shielded in something, so maybe that's an AI that's running off of the Mind Stone. Mm-hmm. I feel like, honestly, I've said this the same a couple times. I feel like with these big team-up movies, it worked really well having Loki in another movie before this. I feel like which they didn't, and there's no way this could have played out this way, but knowing what we know now, that Edgar Wright was kicked off Ant-Man, they should have pulled that lever sooner, had Ant-Man come out before this, and introduce Ultron in Ant-Man, so that this movie had less legwork.
What if you had 3 movies? You introduce Ultron in, like, Iron Man 3 or Avengers as, like, him as a backup thing. Like, little Easter, just little mentions of it. And then that's Iron Man 3. And then you have Ant-Man come out before, so you get, like, the origins of, like, this is where Ultron came from, but we kind of just don't really deal with it. And then finally it's like, no, we're dealing with this problem now.
I like, you know what's easier, though, is that idea that he was just a S.H.I.E.L.D. If they just said, oh, this was an old S.H.I.E.L.D. protocol, Tony found it, and he's like, no, I can make this work.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of Tony's fault, but kind of not, and it's much easier to know.
And S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist anymore.
And S.H.I.E.L.D. was also part of Hydra, so who knows what the fuck they were doing to it. Whatever. Doesn't matter. That's not the movie we got. The movie we did get, I feel like this falls under the divisiveness it creates, falls under most DC EU films, falls under Star Wars The Last Jedi, also applies to this movie. When a big blockbuster movie with a franchise that people love, tries to say something and doesn't quite necessarily nail it, super divisive reactions. Either people are like all the fuck on board, or fucking hate it, or like...
I didn't think this movie had even too much to say. There's just so much in it that it barely has time to literally say anything.
I disagree with you. Watching it this third time...
You think there's not a lot?
No. I think the theme this movie is going for is the idea of life, about the fact that you just have to live your life, do your best, you're going to make mistakes, accept the mistakes, life is messy, and which is why it's hard for me to hate this movie, because its own theme is a metaphor for itself. Like, go big or go home, and sometimes you make mistakes. You know what I mean? So Tony was right to do it. He should have been honest with the team, but he was right to go after Ultron. Mistakes happened. He fixed them by vision, basically. And I think that's summed up with the most beautiful scene. I swear to God, I think this is the most beautiful scene in all the MCU, is when Vision confronts the dying Ultron at the end. And it's such a great interaction, and Ultron's like, they're doomed. And Vision's not like, no, they're not. We're gonna. He's like, yeah. But nothing beautiful lasts forever. And it's a gift to be with them. It's a gift to be basically it's a gift to be in this mess with them. And it's a gift to be alive. And celebrating that gift. And so I think it's really shooting for that, but in all the other fucking things that are happening. And I think it reminds me actually a lot of Iron Man 2, where it's like, we had a thing that's worked, we're going to do more of that.
Double it.
And then the studio's like, but wait, we've got the studio mandated shit we got to do. And somewhere in that mess, you get some really good stuff and some really not fucking good stuff, like Thor's psychic bath. Yeah.
All 4 things.
Yeah. Like, but you also get moments like, I really like Ultron's first reveal when he's the, like, melted...
Iron Legion
drone. That whole first interaction's really good. Like, the stuff with Claw, I think, is good. The fucking Hulkbuster fight, fucking rad.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
And a lot of Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver taking down the team is cool.
Yeah.
But they're used in kind of like this weird sparingly way, but also they're used a lot. It's weird. You don't learn anything about them besides them saying one thing.
Yeah.
And they do change.
Yeah.
But don't. Scarlet Witch grows more than Quicksilver, and then that's kind of clear of who they're going to bank on. Who's the bankable character out of the two
Which
of them.
is smart, because at the time, Quicksilver was fucking tearing it up in the X-Men movies. So it's like, you're not going to compete with that. You can't beat Evan Peters' version of Quicksilver. Especially since, for me, I have never given a shit about Quicksilver in the comics. Loved him in the X-Men movies, and now he's the Quicksilver. He's not even... He's less dickish in Avengers than the Quicksilver I know from the comics, so that's a plus. But otherwise, it's just like, oh, he's there.
Such an asshole. I don't know why. Why is he always such an asshole?
His dad's Magneto. His dad's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that is an answer you could.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, no. It plows through its own story so fast that you don't really have. There's no breathing room. Even when they're at the farm, it's just plowing through it.
Well, I gotta be honest with you. Another thing that reminds me of Iron Man 2 is the movie's like clipping, it's doing stuff, I'm enjoying it, and then it just grinds to a halt in the farm. It's just like Iron Man 2 when he gets house arrested.
Because you're trying to learn more about the characters. That's the point. It's supposed to slow down so you can get to know them. But you don't.
Yeah, I think momentum is the friend of these Marvel movies, and so when you slow it down too much, it becomes very noticeable. You're right. That is the goal. The goal is to like, hey, we should learn more about them. But you're right. Do we really? No. And also, pairing off Black Widow and Hulk is just dumb.
It's
weird.
It's
just dumb. Like, I wanted to maybe give it a shot because I like both those actors and I like both those characters, but it just feels not right. And then she said, worst scene in the movie.
Because it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, worst scene in the movie. They had kind of a rapport in the first one, but it was more Black Widow's growth. Like, you can tell from whatever past trauma she has, she's kind of freaked out by the Hulk, and she comes to terms with that. Whatever. Worst scene in movies when Banner saves her and she's like, I adore you. And then she fucking shoves him down the hole. That's bad for both characters. Yeah. That makes both characters look bad.
It's not great. Not great. But Bruce Banner, I do enjoy in this movie. I'll give props to that. I like, not really his scenes with Black Widow, because I kind of blurred them out of my brain because I didn't really care for them. But a lot of his, like, he's shown as, like, kind of shy and, like, meek, but at the same time, he's very capable. He's a very smart guy, and I appreciate that. And I don't think we really get that in Thor Ragnarok or literally any other Marvel movie, but you get a little bit in this, and I'm okay with that. I see that there's a path for Tony to learn something in this, but it goes so fast that I don't really get it. You didn't see that coming? That was a fun joke. But I will say I did like what Scarlet Witch went through in this, and I like that, like, her powers are a cool new addition. And her and Hawkeye's scene together at the end is the best.
Once you go out that door, you're an Avenger. Which again goes
also when he sums everything up. He's like, I'm a guy with a bow and arrow.
Yeah.
Robots are making the city fly.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Nothing makes sense.
And he's like, I don't know if I can do anything here.
Yeah.
And it's cool because he's kind of the weakest out of all the Avengers. She's the strongest.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
She can take down Vision, so she wins.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because, again, I think that's another moment where the theme of the movie comes in, where he's kind of like, listen, we've all made mistakes, but you have a choice to make. If you go out that door, you're an Avenger now. And it's kind of like you can choose to live. It's your choice to be a good person, even if you've made mistakes.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like this movie's really, like the DCU movies, like Last Jedi. I feel like it's really trying to say something, but in the framework of a studio, whatever, People's Vision studio, whatever. And that's why it generates such a divisive reaction. Those movies, love them or hate them, that seems to, maybe this one doesn't get as much love, but like the fact that anybody straight hates it.
I really don't enjoy it.
Even the Thor movies are like, they're fine. But that's not the reaction this movie gets, because I think it's trying for something, and people feel that sensation of like...
Also, it was kind of a big letdown. The first Avengers is... While it's not as a film, not a movie, like a film, it's whatever. But like as a movie, as like popcorn, whatever, it's really cool. And there are some like cool growth moments, like when you hit like a really sad moment in the middle where you lose Coulson.
In case you didn't know,
it matters a lot, you know, and it allows Cap and Iron Man to have a moment where they get to talk to each other and be honest about who they are and who they are to each other. And it creates this awesome reveal moment where you're like, oh shit, we do know where Loki is right now. We know where he's been this entire time.
Yeah.
And this movie was like, marketed as like kind of like a darker version of that, which was really cool. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that movie at all.
Yeah.
And because it tried to do the same as before, but more of it, and it didn't have anywhere near enough runway to tell that entire story.
Yeah.
You kind of had to rush. You had to move really fast through it.
Yeah.
Well, you may be right about like the theme.
Yeah.
I didn't have enough time to absorb that with what was happening.
Well, again, this is 3 times watching it that
three times for me.
I
too.
finally come to the conclusion. Oh, I think this is what it's trying to say.
Yeah, so it's like so getting the hate that it does, when it like you paid the money, you didn't get really anything you expected out of this.
Yeah.
Because everyone had expectations going into it. You get the fights, but they feel kind of hollow, or they don't have the same. You don't have any real like ties to them because they kind of feel like out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of it, like Vision's really cool. Wow, his powers make no fucking sense. I have no idea how he can control his density.
He's basically a god robot. I didn't realize before, like, oh, he's an android. I didn't realize that they're using. I mean, I saw, but like, I didn't realize the context of like they're using something that grows organic. So Vision's like part organic. Like that for some reason that didn't click for me until this. He's part. You
never read Tom King's Vision, right?
Well, that's the comics. For the movies, I didn't know that he was part organic, like that he's basically vibranium and flesh mixed.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think he's vibranium in the comics, but
Yeah.
the way they explain it is that it's as if you built a human with organs and everything, but you just made it out of silica instead of like skin. That's what Vision is.
But the way it is in the movies, they're using the flesh generator, so he's got some organics theoretically in him.
Or
did they use the vibranium to construct the?
That's what it is. That's why he's supposed to be evolved.
This also works really well.
Maybe there is flesh. That's why he's pink.
As an episode in a series, because even though this reaction is mixed, I'm glad we've got Vision and Scarlet Witch for Civil War.
Oh yeah,
they
they have some of the best scenes, and also they got like. Actually, no, they're amazing in it.
I really like
Vision, Hawkeye, and Scarlet Witch have one of the coolest scenes in Civil War.
I resented it when we saw the movie in theaters because it was spoiled for us because people in comments were bad. But I really like the payoff with Vision with the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great way of like, we don't have a lot of movie. We've got to convince not just our heroes, but the audience that we should trust this guy.
Who literally was born 30 seconds ago.
Such a great line, like when Ultron is like, you're insufferably naive, and Vision's like, well, I was born yesterday.
Man, this whole movie was written around that line,
which
is a great line.
I love that scene. They should have put that scene as instead of the whole like in Avengers Infinity Wars trailer. It's like we had a vision for the Avengers. It should have been that like they're all doomed. Yeah, Thanos punches the shit out of Iron Man.
I do like Vision scenes and also James Spader's physicality. I really like for Ultron, but it's so funny because you're watching it and you're just like, yeah, this is a CGI character that they based off James. It's not like James Spader playing anybody else. It's James Spader, which is great because he's always like, like he just finished like a sour lollipop. He's like, yeah, it's like he's like, and not really there. He's like somewhere else. He's remembering the lines when he was reading them in his trailer, and now he's in a scene. It's like he's like not like. The way he acts is sometimes like he's not engaged totally.
Yeah, I like James Spader.
I'm not criticizing. It's just you can see that when Ultron's performing, and you're like, shouldn't he be like a little different, like a little bit? Whatever, doesn't matter. And also, shouldn't Ultron feel a lot scarier? Like
I find it pretty scary.
He's in the internet. Okay, so we'll just accept that you burned him out of the internet. Fine, whatever.
Yeah, that's a stretch. But
yeah, and also there's no nexus of all internet that doesn't go to a place.
But there's no flying androids that can phase through things either, all right?
Which is more believable. Why does he phase through things?
Hey, listen, I don't know. He's the MCU's Martian Manhunter. A lot since most of the Avengers came out after DC characters. There's a lot of like Stan Lee being, I want my version of this.
Yeah, man.
And I don't, honestly, don't blame him.
I love War Machine's reaction to it. It's like, oh, what?
What? Yeah.
Yeah, because he puts his arm through it and he rips a robot apart. And you're like,
wait, what's happening?
How? How did that just happen?
I like this movie as much as I dislike it.
That's a weird answer.
It's a weird feeling. I give it a B-.
Yeah, I don't. This is a solid C. Phase 2's a little rough, I think. Then I'm not super down for this movie, so that's a C. Even 7. I'll give it an even 7.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a
8.
I'm a B-, so like 8 basically.
Even. All right, let's move into our final movie for Phase 2. We just watched it this week, and I was pleasantly surprised of how much I still enjoyed this movie a lot. Ant-Man. Here's your synopsis. I went to Google this time. This will probably be a better synopsis. Forced out of his own company by former protege Darren Cross, Dr. Hank Pym recruits the talents of Scott Lang, a master thief just released from prison. Lang becomes Ant-Man, trained by Pym and armed with a suit that allows him to shrink in size, possess superhuman strength, and control an army of ants. The miniature hero must use his new skills to prevent Cross, also known as Yellow Jacket, from perfecting the same technology and using it as a weapon for evil.
Yep, that is the whole movie.
Gotcha.
Well,
I don't need to talk about it anymore.
Exactly. So, if I'm being honest, you can definitely see the seams in this movie. You can see how it was one movie, and then the whole train shifted tracks, and that. But that said, damn, I really enjoy this movie. This movie is so fun to watch.
It's so many people were shitting on it before it came out, which whatever. We know some production stuff. We know too much production stuff sometimes about movies. You don't need to know how how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Edgar Wright was supposed to make this movie, and that would have been such a cool thing to say that he made a Marvel movie. Kind of like how we can say Ryan Coogler has now made a Marvel movie. That's awesome. Yeah. That's so cool. But Peyton Reed I think he did a very good job with this movie.
Agreed.
And definitely he used some elements that were from Edgar Wright's.
From what I understand, mostly the major action sequences, because those were baking in the CGI oven while all this stuff was going on.
And they're beautiful. The CGI really is so cool, which is a bummer because Age of Ultron sometimes does not look very good with the CGI. Like that opening scene where it doesn't cut and you're like, what's happening?
That's kind of...
It's rough.
It's tough. It's also tough to start your movie, going back to Age of Ultron, to start your movie with the big thing at the end of the last movie where they're all fighting together and you get the shot, and then the shot isn't as cool as the spin. No. Whatever. None of that matters. It's cool to take a hero that I cannot name a single person in my life that really gave a shit about. It's not even just Ant-Man.
I've met one person now.
Specifically Scott Lang. Like, was anybody like a Scott Lang fan?
Some people like Hank Pym a lot, which I'm like...
Well, in the comics, it was like,
you remember when he beat his wife in like a bunch of different stories? It's really rough.
He's a lot more likable in these movies.
Stick with this.
Yeah.
Stick with this.
And make him like... Wait, you're talking to the guy that shrinks and he hangs out with ants? Like, that sounds so dumb. So much fun. When he's learning to work with the ants, the whole training montages are usually pretty lame. When he's learning the suit and learning to work with ants, fantastic. Hilarious. And Paul Rudd's so good.
Paul Rudd has so much fun with this. It's such a good job, Marvel, for like taking a risk, because Paul Rudd would not be the person I would have thought you would have casted in this role. I mean, same with Chris Pratt. I really like Chris Pratt's portrayal of Star-Lord. Great job with Paul Rudd as Ant-Man.
Paul Rudd, I feel like, nails it for me better than Chris Pratt, because he brings a lot of humanity to... He's making the jokes, but you get a sense of Scott Lang as a person. And good job. I also love that the fan service Marvel likes to give is like, hey, we're going to show off that this actor worked their ass off to, like, this scene where Paul Rudd's shirtless. Did we need it? No. Am I glad it's there? Yes.
Ant-Man doesn't need abs ever.
Yeah.
He never needs abs.
But I want to know the actor did the work.
And this movie, I think it's the funniest. I mean, Thor Ragnarok, I have a lot of fun watching. Yeah. But it is maybe like a close second. It's a very funny movie, and it's like there's some jokes that don't always land. Mm-hmm. Most Marvel movies are like that. But for the most part, this movie is really good. And Luis is Michael Pena.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Michael Pena is he's a treat.
He's so funny.
Even though I didn't enjoy Wrinkle in Time that much, his performance in it is really good.
Yeah.
I don't really understand what he is.
He also gets probably the funniest sequences in this movie where he explains how he knows something, which, having seen this movie a few times now, if you think about it, doesn't make any sense. Like, why are these people trying to get information to Scott Lang 6 people deep? Yeah, like, that doesn't make sense, but the sequences are really fun.
Speaking of things that don't make sense,
the
timeline of Scott's whole life makes no sense. So he has a PhD as an electrical engineer.
Yes.
And he worked at VistaCorp, because now rewatching we know what the company is.
Yeah.
And he found out while working there that they were skimming like millions of dollars, just like an insurance company or something like that. They were stealing money. You can correct me on that. But they stole money from their clients.
Yeah.
And so he found out, blew the whistle, and he got fired.
Yeah.
Then he came back, and he gave all that money back to the people.
Yeah.
And got arrested.
Yes.
And he went to jail.
Yes.
When did he become a thief?
That was when he was a thief.
Huh?
They're talking about that time when he robbed VistaCorp. That is when he was a cat burglar.
But the way they talk about him, he's like a world class thief. That's how
yes.
Luis talks to him.
Yes, but he's a world class thief because he performed that one big job.
But that.
But as far as I know from watching the movie,
because he did it. I mean, yeah, I guess he is technically.
And he went to jail for it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I get what you're saying. Also, when you describe it, he describes himself as a cat burglar. I don't know how that would be needed to rob VistaCorp. That would be a hacker situation. Mm-hmm. But transitioning real quick to the positives, when he breaks into Hank Pym's safe, that's fun.
It is. But where did he learn all that? Like what? Like he's capable.
Electroengineering school, Sam.
To break in?
Yes.
To make a thumbprint out of glue?
Have you ever gotten a PhD in engineering?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, when I got out of the movie,
I don't have a problem with it either because I really like this movie.
He did it the one time, and that's why he's the... I didn't get the impression that he made a career out of it, although that would make more sense the way people talk to him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's confusing, because he definitely hasn't been that much of a criminal. No. But he did go to jail, so he is a thief.
I do like that opening where he's fighting the guy
to leave.
It's a good reversal. Also, weird payoff that I didn't catch the first few times I've seen this movie, when Luis is like, I'm the only guy that knocked that guy out, which pays off later because he knocks out a few people one punch. Like, boom, they're out. It's like, that's cool.
Also, I like at the end of the movie, you get, this is with Age of Ultron and Ant-Man, they try to do fix the thing from Man of Steel of like them just murdering people, and like it's like, no, we'll get everybody out. And at the end of the movie, Luis knocked the guy out and hit him.
Such a cool moment.
And he takes him out.
Yeah.
But in that same scene, right before when like Ant-Man's running through like the model of cross technologies, they knock out 2 guys.
Leave them.
Those guys are definitely dead.
Yeah, they got shrunk into the building. Mm-hmm. I do, again, transitioning off of it.
I gotta point that out. Yeah. He's like, oh no, that guy, and then he should have been like, oh no, there's like 5 people, I gotta get.
At least 5 people. They knocked out a few people.
Should he thrown them out the window at that point? Like, I don't know what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. I do like the scene where he's running through the model because it's a fun subversion of the classic. Like, the city is being destroyed. This is, I think, Spider-Man got a lot of praise for this, but I think this is the first movie where it's not like, oh no, the whole world's ending. It's like literally like he's just trying to save his daughter's life.
Yeah.
He's trying to save the company.
Family's a cool theme in this movie.
The way it's used. Good Lord, the daughter is so cute.
Peanut. I know she has a Cassie's her
Cassie
name.
Lang. Actress, that little actress
Peanut.
they got is so adorable. Mm-hmm. Like every scene she's in, like, good Lord, and that's the cutest kid.
Darren Cross is cartoonishly villainous.
Oh my goodness.
But I enjoy I've said this about so many characters, but he's clearly having a lot of fun playing that role.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Is he crazy? Oh my god. To a degree that no person's ever been that crazy.
The pin particles are affecting your mind.
You should have brought that up a few more times, because it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Shrinking, so it's not... Is it a proximity? What?
I don't know.
Why is he... Also, fun thing, there's a few times where they'll say something or do something that doesn't make any sense, so they bring out the lamb. Why is it not mice? What does it matter? Because... It's probably cheaper than a lamb. You're blowing our budget on our...
Well, to be fair, if you're shrinking a mouse, it's going to be way smaller.
Anyway, so he says, I think it's bring out
35B.
Oh, 35... no, I think it's 35C.
Okay.
He's like, bring out subject 35C, and then it doesn't work. It's like, no, bring out subject 36C.
What numbers?
Wait, then why is there a letter designation at the end if you're just doing the...
That's not how numbers...
That's not... It would be 36. If it was B, then it'd be C. Or if it was C, then it'd be D. But you would... And then once you get through the alphabet, then it'd be 36. Wait, what?
Doesn't work. Doesn't make sense. A lot of stuff is like, Also, how in the hell would he have been able to shoot Anthony out of the air, but not Ant-Man?
Also, how is he able to liquefy one of his shareholders and nobody... His family doesn't call up.
There was a deleted scene where they wanted to make him like super fucking irredeemably evil. Was that he was going to taste it, and then then they were going to throw it away. And I'm like, I'm glad you didn't do that.
Do that. When people talk about Marvel movie villains being kind of like one note or forgettable, him and Ronan and whatever the Dark Elf is, like they're in that tier of like they're there.
He's the most enjoyable one to watch because he's not just like screaming. He's just like he's crazy.
Yeah, I do like that they try to emphasize that like. He is kind of like a dark mirror of Scott Lang in that he was supposed to be mentored by Hank Pym, and Hank Pym kind of like let him and a bunch of people down. Hank Pym let a lot of people. Hank Pym in this universe isn't great either.
No, he's just not like beating people.
Yeah,
so
that we know.
That's a win. Well,
we'll just wait until Ant-Man 2. They're going to make that a big plot point that he beat.
Also, the physics doesn't make any sense with shrinking stuff.
Again, you have an android that phases through solid objects, Sam. You can't be too picky with this shit.
Just you have to ask the questions. I can accept it and move on as long as we're all on the same page that this doesn't make sense. It's that if you're that small, you shouldn't have the strength of
Well, they
punching.
even say like you shrink, but at double strength. Cool.
So you shouldn't be able to lift up that tank, right?
Huh?
The tank on the keychain.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, just making sure. So if he stood on my shoulder, it'd feel like an adult man standing on one of my shoulders.
No, not his density. His strength.
His density should be doubled, though. That's actually the only thing that should be true is that his density doubled. That's the only...
That's the Sam answer. The Sam answer to any of those questions.
You're very right. Yeah. See, there's a couple things where it's like, when was he a thief?
Like, again, like you can see the seams. This was definitely written over a couple of weekends before they had to start production on this movie.
Adam McKay helped out, right?
Yeah, Adam McKay helped because originally there was a moment where he looked like he was going to direct it. And then he just worked on the script. But I like the training. The thing, from what I've understood, is kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, in a sense, or one of the things that broke the camel's back was the inclusion of Ant-Man breaking into the Avengers compound, which, no, I want that. That's a great, other than the fact it's like, hey, we're introducing another white hero, and we're going to show that he's great by having him beat up one of our 2 black heroes. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's not great. But the sequence is fun, and anytime I get Anthony Mackie in one of these movies, I'm happy.
What I heard is that they, not that specific thing, because that was actually the going to Avengers was Peyton Reed's idea, and like fighting Falcon, that was his idea. But they needed Avengers brought up, and they wanted them to feature them anyway. Yeah. Edgar Wright just said flat out, no, there weren't any ideas, there weren't anything. And it's like, well, we need them, we need you to, because we're too far in now.
Well, in hindsight, they were probably thinking like, no, we want Ant-Man in Civil War.
Yeah.
So we need to make that bridge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he said no. So that didn't work. But that led to one of my favorite scenes, because you get Falcon not only punching Scott bigger,
so cool,
or he's punching him big, and then he claps him with the wings.
Yeah,
so cool.
That's a really fun sequence, and it leads to a really cool rapport. And again, like watching these as if they're a TV series, like great, because again, I really like Ant-Man and Civil War, so I'm glad that we get this bridge movie.
And there's something kind of cool about him fighting Falcon specifically. Yeah. I get what you're saying, but just also the optics of it. But also they're both heroes that are tech based.
Yeah,
they do learn how to fight, both of them, and so they're both capable. But their main persona is because of a piece of tech that they have, and they use that. Also, they're second tier from somebody else. They're like Scott Lang is the second Ant-Man, and Falcon is kind of like the sidekick to Captain America. So that's kind of cool that they are able to fight together.
Well, and also thinking about, we need Ant-Man in Civil War, it's like you need to give them somebody that will connect them up.
And out of everybody else, they would
because at the time when I saw this movie, it's like even with that, like, couldn't it have been War Machine, since they have the issues with Iron Man? It's like, well, now knowing what we know now, it's like, well, no, that doesn't make sense, because he can't be on Team Iron Man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
So it worked out.
It worked out, and again, that's one of my favorite sequences in the movie, when they break into the place. When they break into the compound, that whole high sequence is fun. So cool. When he's learning to work with the different ants, that's weirdly, it's really cool and endearing seeing him like learn to work with these ants.
They're so
like
cute.
Little garbage animals.
They did a good job at making them look cute.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Also, those ants don't conduct electricity. I looked it up.
I was gonna say when I was watching it now, I was like, that can't be true.
They're attracted to it, and they definitely die as soon as they touch it. So cool. It's like, but it's like every time you have like an electrical outlet outside and you find dead ants in there, it's like those are them.
Also, one of my favorite because again, most of these movies devolve into the big city destroying whatever. The fight in the suitcase in the helicopter, leading to the fight in the pool where he flicks Yellow Jacket into the bug zapper. Great, which also explains why, even though he's already crazy, like why he's even amped up even more at the end, because he just got fucking fried. And then the fight in the bedroom's so cool. Like when the Thomas the Tank Engine blows up.
Giant ant
is hilarious. That's a weird looking dog.
Physics-wise, that ant's body should just collapse. It shouldn't be able to stay.
Hey, man.
I know, it's sad. And also, they're supposed to be like, they live better together when they are around other ants. Yeah. Ants don't really live by themselves, because then they die really quick. So that ant probably didn't live.
His other ants are the ant family, the Langs. And one of my favorite bits is when they're fighting on the train set, and then so many movies just don't do the stuff, the little like cut out contextual shit where they're fighting, cut to just the train set, and it hits and falls over. It's like, that's great. Just little stuff like that just makes it so enjoyable.
The Quantum Realm whole sequence is really cool. That's
it's a little bit cooler when we saw it in 3D.
Oh yeah.
On TV, it's like
not as cool.
A little underwhelming.
Yeah, but it's still like crazy how far it goes into like
and scary.
Yeah.
And interesting, weirdly, how it feels like it kind of ties into Doctor Strange
it's
in a weird way. Like, it's just weird. It's a weird connective tissue.
Mm-hmm. I did really like Okay, I just had this idea just now. Like, what if Ant-Man makes a bunch of ants giant, and then you see that's why you don't see Ant-Man in the trailers, because in the final fight, all the Avengers come running in on flying Iron Man suited ants, and you're like, why? I don't know. Just let it happen. It's great. Just let it. There's the rhinos with Iron Man costumes on, and the ants, and you're like.
No, the rhinos have the Black Panther nanotech on.
Yes, that's great. That's great, and they have like iron.
Seriously,
they look
though,
like
if
cats.
you could make an army of ants, that actually probably would be pretty effective against Thanos' army.
I guess. I don't know.
Except for what you just described, that they basically melt.
Yeah, they kind of just fall apart. They're not strong enough.
Listen, I want to be cynical. I want to be critical of this movie. I really like it. I really like it.
It does a good job of being entertaining.
Yeah. Also, I like heist movies.
It's not without flaws.
Superhero element to it. It's just so much fun.
Mm-hmm. And you love when people get gooped with that little goop gun.
Goop gun. Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
It was.
Yellow Jackets is not. Oh, dude, you know what the scariest part is? When he's doing that like demo video of like, why you should invest in Yellow Jacket. When you see the Yellow Jacket just laser through a guy, you're like, that's a nightmare. The little tiny guy can just shoot lasers through my chest. That's legitimately terrifying.
I just did a breakdown for New Rockstars, and one cool thing I think that ties back to Eric O'Grady, who's the third Ant-Man, is the Yellow Jacket costume design, because usually the Yellow Jacket doesn't have the arms, but Eric O'Grady's third Ant-Man does, and Mitchell Carson, who's like evil S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that's now Hydra, is the guy in Eric O'Grady's origin. He was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent that was supposed to be Ant-Man, but then he gets like blasted in the face and gets a big scar on his face, and Eric takes the costume, and Mitchell becomes like, you find out that he's like a traitor to S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything, so he's not like a great guy. So I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool that like it all kind of connects back in this cool way. Also, if you guys don't know, Eric O'Grady, he was Ant-Man, and he had a redemption arc because originally he was a big pervert with the suit. Like, he'd watch women shower and be naked. That's why
it's called the Irredeemable Ant-Man. That was his run. That was what his run was called.
What a weird, not funny. Yeah. It was just gross.
Yeah.
So.
And then he died, and then he came back as an android called Black Ant.
Yeah, he was cool. Yeah. Black Ant's kind of cool.
That was in Secret Avengers run?
And he's in Secret Empire right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He was with Taskmaster.
Taskmaster.
Mm-hmm. But let's rate it. I give it a name. Mine.
Oh.
This. Go.
I give it a solid B.
Not a B plus?
Sure. Let's do it. Let's give it a B plus.
What about A minus?
This is a weird negotiation tactic you're giving me.
A minus?
Nope. B plus.
All right. I'll go with A minus.
Well, now I kind of want to go back and give Avengers Age of Ultron a B.
Because you don't mean that.
The proximity.
No, but they're better though. Ant-Man's better.
This is more enjoyable. I think Age of Ultron's a better made movie.
Crazy.
Again, the production switched around like days before they started shooting. Like, there's only so much you can do. But with that, it's like, I just really enjoy this movie.
Me too.
Just on a visceral, like, happiness level. I really like it.
I did purchase this movie. I do like watching it every once in a while because it's like, this is cool. When he is doing his training session, it's really fun.
And the costume looks cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
Ant-Man's never looked cool until this movie.
They like made his mouth smoother in Civil War. Like I
kind of like this version.
Right? Okay, I'm glad that I feel that way too, because now they're kind of sticking with the newer one. I'm like, you kind of nailed it. Like with this one, it was a cool. I don't like the open mouth plan of like Ant-Man in the comics, because when he goes into a body, that's like all the
solid point
gross going into his mouth, and also it's like, I like this because it's like, no, it also it's shrinking down oxygen or some whatever garbage shit he needs to stay alive at that size. But anyways, really good movie. That's it though. That's phase 2. We made it through.
Good Lord.
And now we're gonna start phase 3, and that's so exciting because we get to watch Civil War. We've already watched it, so we did a live tweet about it.
Me.
That's it's gonna go Civil War, Doctor Strange.
Wait, I got the list here.
Oh, please, because I don't remember.
Yeah, Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians 2, Spider-Man Homecoming, Thor 3, and then guess what happens? Avengers Infinity War.
But if Black Panther's still out, we won't do a rewatch
Black Panther,
of it.
Technically.
Man, a lot of new movies came out in
we should bring
3.
We should bring it up in our rundown, because we've seen it soon enough that...
We should.
Yeah.
Also, we should. Mm-hmm. But guys, thank you so much for supporting us. Made it through that. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, but if you're part of our Patreon, we love you. You're the best. Keep doing what you're doing. We love you.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Were we going to rank these movies?
Nope.
Okay.